Hey all you out there in YouTube land, I've got some beginners or people that are awesome rhythm players learning how to play lead, asking for some very basic, simple pentatonic riffs. So I'm going to teach you the most basic, standard bending pentatonic riffs ever made. And let's check some out. Alright, so let's just do this in A minor pentatonic. So this is kind of Chuck Berry inspired. He's kind of the originator of this kind of riff. What you're going to do is bar the B and the E on the 5th fret. And when you bend what is called a whole step, you're bending, I'm going to take this G note on the 7th fret. A whole step means you're bending it from the sound of the 7th fret to the sound of the 9th fret. Now you can check your bends also. If you're on the B and G strings, you're bending up the G. So this note that you're bending should sound like this note, right? So you bend it up. See how it's off? That's off. That's more there. So you can check. So in the Chuck Berry riffs, what we're doing is we're bending up a whole step, and we're hitting that note, the check note, but also the note right below it. So that's 5 and 5. So we got. So what you're going to do is you're going to bend up a whole step, release the bend, and be careful not to let lots of string noise ring out. So what I'll do is when I bend a note, if it's released, by the time the string goes back to normal, this finger, even though I'm fretting the 5th, B, and the E strings, my finger is also just barely on the G string as well. Not pressing down, but just keeping it from ringing out. So we got. So bend up a whole step and then hit the B and the E, 5th fret, twice. And that's just the other part of the pentatonic, the 8th fret, B and E strings. Right? There's also this riff where you're going to have the 8th fret B and you're going to bend up the 7th fret G a whole step. That's very, very common. So there's a little riff for you. Bend up, 8th is going to stay where it's at. The 7th fret is what you're going to bend. So that's G5, G7, and the D7. Always remember that vibrato is what separates people from sounding like beginners from people who are a little bit more experienced, let's say. Vibrato is one of those great things that even if your technical ability, you can't just sit there and burn like, every other person on YouTube. It really makes a player sound vocal. So the purpose of soloing, in my opinion, it's great to do all that technical stuff if you can, but it's to sound like a melody line of some kind. Take the song somewhere. So if you get that vibrato down, even if you're not bending, you're just going right up to a note. Now if I didn't do that, I'd be. Which sounds great too, and that has its place, no vibrato. But I personally really like the sound of vibrato. So you got. So anyways, there's one riff. You can do the. And that's you're bending up the B string 8th fret.
So
So I'm grabbing the E string 5th fret, and I'm pulling off the 8th fret to the 5th fret on the B string, and then bending up. You don't have to go a whole step. You can do like a little quarter step bend. You don't always have to bend up a whole. You can do whole, half, quarter. So we got, you got the, that's a little bit of a harder run, but it's not that bad. So that is bending up on the 8th fret, and you're just repeating that riff over and over again. I do it with hammer-ons and pull-offs. Also, some runs you can start to do, beginning runs, would be the Jimmy Page style riff. So that's... So you're going to start on the 8th fret, 5th fret, and then now you're going to go down to the A string. Right? And then you start the pattern over again. Play with the different sounds of muting with your palm and letting strings ring open. So there you go. That's some beginner stuff. Remember, you got that. Then we got that. And and there's that. And then, oh yeah, another cool one is the same thing you're doing when you're checking a bend. So you're just hitting the same note a string lower, but when you're on the B and E strings, the gap's farther apart, so you're 3 frets apart. You can either bend with your pinky or your ring finger. And you're going to bend this note until it sounds like this note. But it's cool to hit them both and go up to the note.